The sun hung high in the sky, casting a relentless glare over the vast desert. The landscape stretched endlessly, marked by rolling dunes and parched earth that cracked under the heat. Sparse patches of scrubby plants fought for survival against the dry wind that whipped through the area, carrying with it whispers of despair. Travelers who dared to cross this unforgiving expanse often found themselves grappling with thirst and fatigue, their bodies begging for just a sip of cool water. In this harsh world, every step felt like a battle. The ground was hot beneath their feet, and the only sounds were the distant cries of vultures circling overhead, waiting patiently for the weak. The few who ventured here were driven by desperation, some seeking gold and others fleeing from their pasts. They moved cautiously, aware that any misstep could lead to dire consequences. As day turned to dusk, the once blinding sun began to set. The sky transformed into a canvas of oranges and purples, but beauty offered little comfort. Among those lost in the desolation was a gambler on the brink of collapse. His parched throat cried out for water, yet he could see no signs of life beyond the endless stretches of sand. With each labored breath, he hoped for a miracle to guide him through the darkness that surrounded him. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, the gambler stumbled through the sand, each step feeling heavier than the last. His clothes were tattered and stained, remnants of better days spent in card games and bustling saloons. Now he was just a shadow of himself, skin coated in sweat and dust, his face gaunt from lack of food and water. Desperation dripped from him like the sweat pooling in his worn-out boots. His name was Jack, and once he had dreams of striking it rich, turning his luck around with one fateful hand of cards. But fate had played a cruel trick, leaving him penniless and wandering in this merciless desert instead. The sparkle of gold that once gleamed in his eyes had dimmed, replaced by the dullness of uncertainty and fading hope. With every bead of sweat that rolled down his brow, Jack's thoughts raced back to the last game he played, a loss that cost him everything. His heart felt heavy with regret as he recalled the mocking faces of those who walked away with his money, laughing as he was left behind to face his fate alone. Now, all he sought was a sip of life-giving water, a sign that his journey wasn't at its end. He pressed onward, determined to find not just relief but a chance to reclaim what he had lost in the cards of life. As Jack trudged through the ever-encroaching twilight, his hope dwindled with each labored breath. Just when he felt he could go no farther, a figure emerged from the shimmering heat waves, appearing almost like a mirage. The man was tall and slender, draped in flowing robes that danced lightly with the breeze, giving him an ethereal presence. His face was weathered but kind, framed by a wild mane of silver hair that caught the fading sunlight. "Who are you?" Jack croaked, struggling to keep his eyes focused on the apparition before him. "I am a preacher," the man replied, his voice warm and soothing like a gentle rain. "I have come to guide those who have lost their way." With just a few words, Jack felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. This preacher seemed to embody the goodness he thought was gone forever. As they spoke, the preacher revealed he knew the secrets of the desert, where water lay hidden and how one could navigate its vast emptiness. He spoke of faith in oneself and trusting in the journey ahead. "Follow me," the preacher urged, gesturing toward a distant ridge that seemed to shimmer with promise. With newfound determination coursing through his veins, Jack took a step forward, ready to trust this mysterious guide into whatever awaited him beyond the horizon. With the preacher leading the way, Jack felt a renewed sense of purpose as they traversed the sand. The shimmering ridge ahead promised hope, and as they walked, the preacher filled the air with stories that danced like the wind around them. He spoke of ancient travelers who faced similar trials, those who found strength in their faith and persevered through despair. "Water is not just a need, it is a symbol of life," the preacher said, glancing back at Jack with eyes that sparkled with wisdom. "In times of hardship, it is our resilience that keeps us moving forward. Trust in your heart, and you will find what you seek." Jack listened intently, his spirit lifted by the preacher's words. Each tale painted images of hope: a young woman who found an oasis after days of searching, a lost child guided home by a wise elder, These stories reminded him that survival often comes from within. As they continued, the distant sound of trickling water began to fill Jack's ears, a melody he had almost forgotten. The preacher smiled knowingly as he pointed toward a cluster of palm trees swaying gently against the horizon. "There lies an oasis," he announced. "But remember, finding water is just one step on your journey. It's what you do next that truly counts." With that encouragement, Jack quickened his pace, excitement bubbling within him as he approached this newfound hope. As Jack and the preacher made their way toward the oasis, a sense of calm surrounded them, a stark contrast to the turmoil that lay beyond the shimmering palm trees. In the distance, dark figures appeared against the sunlit horizon. The banker's gunmen, menacing and unyielding, their silhouettes cutting a sharp line through the serene landscape. The preacher's kindness radiated like a warm light, while the gunmen exuded an aura of intimidation and fear. Jack felt a shiver run down his spine at the sight of them. They were known for their ruthlessness, enforcing the banker's will without mercy. The gallows they had constructed beside the well served as a grim reminder of their power, a symbol of what could happen to those who crossed paths with them. "Stay close to me," the preacher urged softly, sensing Jack's unease. "Their strength lies in fear, but we have something they cannot take away: hope and courage." With every step forward, Jack felt torn between the preacher's unwavering faith and the harsh reality of the danger ahead. The contrast was striking. The preacher offered lessons in resilience and compassion, while the gunmen represented greed and cruelty. As they approached the oasis, he knew that he would need to rely on both hope and bravery to face whatever awaited them there. As they reached the oasis, Jack's heart raced at the sight before him. The well stood at the center, surrounded by lush greenery that seemed almost magical against the barren desert. Water sparkled in the sunlight, its surface glimmering like a treasure he had longed for throughout his arduous journey. Jack felt drawn to it, his parched throat aching for a sip of that cool, refreshing life. But as he took a step closer, a chill coursed through him. Just off to the side, stark and foreboding, stood a gallows constructed by the banker's men, a grim reminder of the danger that lurked nearby. The wooden structure loomed ominously against the vibrant backdrop of nature, casting dark shadows that seemed to whisper warnings into the air. It was a signal of their ruthlessness, an intimidation tactic meant to keep others in line. "Stay alert," the preacher cautioned quietly, sensing Jack's anxiety. "The water is a gift, but it comes with its challenges." Jack nodded slowly, torn between his desperate need for water and the looming threat just beyond reach. In that moment, he understood that reaching for life also meant confronting fear and danger head-on. With courage swelling inside him and guided by the preacher's steady presence, he prepared to face whatever would come next. As Jack stood at the edge of the oasis, captivated but apprehensive, the preacher stepped closer, his eyes filled with understanding. "In this moment you must choose," he said gently. "Will you let fear dictate your path, or will you find the courage to overcome it?" Jack glanced at the gallows, its shadow stretching ominously towards him. "What if I fail?" he whispered, doubt creeping into his heart. The preacher smiled softly. "Failure is not the end. It is simply a lesson on your journey. Trust in yourself, for true strength lies within. Every choice you make shapes your destiny. What you feel now is fear, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it." Jack considered the preacher's words, feeling a warmth spread through him. He realized that this moment was more than just about survival. It was a chance to reclaim his spirit. The water sparkled enticingly, but the gallows also served as a reminder of what he could lose if he allowed fear to control him. "Life is full of choices," the preacher continued. "Embrace each one. Let them guide you toward hope and strength." With newfound determination, Jack took a deep breath. He knew he had to act, not just for himself but for the promise of a better life. With the preacher's wisdom echoing in his mind, he prepared to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Just as Jack stood at the oasis, gathering his courage, the atmosphere shifted abruptly. A low rumble echoed across the sand as the banker's gunmen emerged from behind a cluster of rocks, their dark figures silhouetted against the golden light. Jack's heart raced, and he felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him. The gunmen exchanged glances, their eyes cold and calculating as they approached with deliberate steps. "Look who we have here," sneered the leader, his voice dripping with disdain. "A washed-up gambler thinking he can find refuge in our territory. You know the rules, surrender now, or you'll face the consequences for your past mistakes." Jack's mind raced back to the games he had played, the debts he had incurred, and the faces of those he had wronged. He could feel the preacher's calm presence beside him, urging him to stand firm. "You don't have to give in to their threats," he whispered softly. The tension in the air grew thick as Jack faced the gunman, weighing his options. He could flee in fear, but that would only lead to more suffering. Instead, he took a deep breath, determination flooding through him as he squared his shoulders. "I won't back down," he declared, surprising even himself. The preacher nodded encouragingly, and together they prepared to confront whatever punishment awaited them. As the gunman closed in, Jack's heart raced with adrenaline, fueled by the preacher's steady presence beside him. He felt a surge of inspiration, recalling the preacher's words about courage and choice. In that moment, he decided to take a bold step, one that would change the course of his fate. With newfound resolve, Jack reached into his pocket and pulled out a small deck of cards, the last remnant of his former life as a gambler. "You want me to surrender?" he called out, his voice steady despite the fear that coursed through him. "I'm not afraid of you or your threats." The gunman paused, surprised by his defiance. Jack took a step forward, holding the deck of cards high for them to see. "These cards have brought me nothing but trouble," he continued. "But they also remind me that life is a game of chance. I refuse to play by your rules any longer." With a flick of his wrist, Jack threw the cards into the air, watching them scatter like fallen leaves in the wind. The gunmen exchanged confused glances, momentarily distracted by the unexpected display. Seizing the opportunity, Jack turned to the preacher, who nodded in encouragement. "Let's go," he shouted, and together they dashed toward the oasis, ready to claim their freedom and face whatever lay ahead. In that bold moment, Jack embraced his courage and chose to reclaim his life. As Jack and the preacher sprinted toward the oasis, the gunmen hesitated, their confusion giving Jack a critical moment to escape. The preacher's encouragement fueled his determination, and they reached the shimmering water just in time to quench their thirst. The coolness revitalized Jack, washing away some of the fears that had burdened him for so long. But as they paused to catch their breath, a surprising twist unfolded. Instead of pursuing them further, the leader of the gunmen called out, "Wait!" He stepped forward, a look of surprise on his face. "You stood up to us when few would dare. You have courage, gambler." Jack turned, bewildered, as the gunman continued. "Perhaps we've misjudged you. We're not just enforcers. We're men trying to survive in a harsh world too." The preacher stepped closer, sensing an opportunity for dialogue. "In this desert, we all face struggles. Perhaps you can choose a different path as well." With a moment of silence hanging in the air, an unexpected bond formed between the two groups. Jack realized that redemption wasn't just for him. It could extend to others as well. That day, both men found courage, not only in standing up for themselves but also in opening the door to understanding and change. As the sun set over the oasis, Jack felt a sense of hope that both his life and the lives of those around him could be transformed forever. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting vibrant hues across the sky, Jack took a moment to reflect on everything that had transpired. Standing by the oasis, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The journey had tested him beyond measure, and yet here he was, not just alive but transformed. The unexpected friendship with the preacher and the gunman reminded him that even in despair, hope could flourish. It was clear that survival was not solely about facing physical challenges. It was also about forging connections and understanding one another's struggles. In this harsh desert, they had all grappled with their demons, yet they were now united by a common desire for redemption. Jack turned to the preacher, whose wise eyes held a depth of compassion. "Thank you for believing in me," he said earnestly. "I thought I was alone in this fight." The preacher smiled warmly. "We are never truly alone when we have each other." Jack realized that it was the bonds formed in times of crisis that often brought out the best in people. The night air felt cooler as he breathed deeply, appreciating the lesson learned. Courage isn't just standing firm against adversity, but also embracing the power of kindness and friendship. With renewed hope swelling in his heart, Jack understood that moving forward meant not only reclaiming his own life, but also helping others find their way through their struggles.